Does getting Steve Nash make them a threat to Oklahoma City in the West?
No. It makes them better because Steve Nash is still a great point guard. There's no question about that one. But the problems that you have with Steve Nash haven't gone away. Notably, he doesn't play very much defense. What point guard in the NBA do you think that Steve Nash can guard? That becomes an issue. I don't care how much better you get on offense. I don't care how bad the point guards were defensively before him. He doesn't play any defense. And the last time I checked, what really got the Lakers in trouble in a series they could have won against Oklahoma City, they looked old at the end. So Game 4, 32-20 in the fourth quarter. Game 2, 17-12 in the fourth quarter. Game 5, 23-13 in the fourth quarter. Why? Because they looked old. So now you go get a point guard that's older than Derek Fisher?
It makes absolutely no sense. I don't understand the Lakers. Everybody talked about they had to get younger. Look at the guys. I don't want to hear about his resume. He's been so good, the Suns haven't even made the playoffs. And then when you talk about the good teams, enough with the Steve Nash. Is this old-timers day? And the loot he got, was that a retirement package? A golden umbrella or something he got? Now, wait a minute. Against the best teams in the West, Oklahoma City, the Lakers, the Spurs, and Dallas, over the last 2 years, the Suns were 6-23. And I know everybody's saying, well, the Suns aren't that good. But Steve Nash in this situation, and Izzy, here's the other thing. How does this work with Kobe Bryant? One of their biggest issues last year was that Kobe wouldn't work in those two big guys. Now you got a real point guard who can do the pick and roll with the big guys and deliver the ball, and Kobe standing out where? And this is going to work? I think this is a disaster.
So many places I can go to counter with you guys. And I'll get to the Kobe thing in a second.
Yeah, we'll get to that later in the show as well.
What people don't recognize about Steve Nash, look at the team that he had last year. He had Marcin Gortat as his #1 option, period. He was their leading scorer. He turned that guy into a 56% shooter from the field, okay? His second best scorer on that team was Jared Dudley. He was almost a 50% shooter. Jared Dudley, a 49% shooter, okay? And that's what Steve Nash orchestrating everything. What he is going to do for those big guys, Gasol and Bynum, is better than arguably anybody else in the league.
Yeah, but is Kobe going to buy into that?
No, Kobe, look, if LeBron has had a couple of years of standing in the corner every once in a while, if Dwayne Wade could stand in the corner every once in a while, Kobe's going to do it. And last year, Kobe wanted those big guys to go to work. There was plenty of times where he just started games, giving them the ball and said, do something for me, okay? If Steve Nash can help those big guys do that for him, then great. And here's the other thing about the defensive thing, okay? That is so overrated, a one-on-one defense. You name me 2 guys in the league who can stay in front of Russell Westbrook, period.
Anybody. Can't stay in front of anybody. We're not talking about
who can
not
true.
Give me some names. Give me some names.
I'm not saying he's going to sit there and block guys. But
wait a minute, didn't you bring in Mike Brown as a defensive coach?
That's a whole different question. Is he the right fit for that offensive, basically offensive-driven team because of Steve Nash? Maybe, maybe not. He might need an offensive coordinator type, you know, kind of like when D'Antoni had Mike Woodson and eventually Woodson took over. Well, eventually his offensive coordinator might take over. Who knows? But he needs a guy to orchestrate that offense if Steve Nash can't do it alone because he's obviously been around long enough, knows the game. There's so many things about Steve Nash that can make this Lakers team better. I just don't see how they can't compete with Oklahoma City, even if they are done making moves, which I don't think they are.
If your problem was that you were old and you had difficulties with pick and roll defense late, then how is Steve Nash going to help? But the reason they looked old is what?
They weren't good enough.
Not because they were old?
No.
They didn't look old because they were old?
Andrew Bynum's not old.
Andrew Bynum's not old. Kobe Bryant is old. Pau Gasol is not young. Derek Fisher, when they had him in there, was old.
That was a big
Derek Fisher is old. Right. Steve Nash is older than Derek Fisher. Steve Nash is infinitely better than Derek Fisher. Always has been.
He's better.
The age thing doesn't really matter. Steve Nash plays like a younger player.
Well, first, it does matter when you sign him for a contract longer than 1 year. It does. The other thing is you say he's going to make Pau Gasol better. Pau Gasol's problem is not the point guard. Pau Gasol's problem is that he's miscasting Mike Brown's offense playing a stretch 4. Steve Nash is not going to change that.
Well, Steve Nash is going to change that offense because if he runs the same offense that they did before, well, then he should be fired.
Well, what other offense is Mike Brown going to run? If Mike Brown had a better offense, he would have been running it long before now. Unless they make a significant change to how they use Pau Gasol, I don't really see how that's going to help but so much. And I just don't think that's going to be the big change. The biggest problem the Lakers have is they got an asset in Pau Gasol. They're not getting a return on the way they use them. The way they can improve is when they figure out what to do with him.